As fascinating as the question of, is the Adventurers Guild a hoax is, I'm gonna give you a frank and honest answer. No. Kind of. After going through all the information I can find in the game, I don't think the Adventurers Guild is completely a hoax or is an underground evil mafia that's going through a pyramid scheme. Actually, I believe that the Adventurers Guild has a bit more nuance than that, which I will be investigating today. I will be proposing a theory that I've actually opened up in a really old video from 2.3. The theory that the Adventurers Guild is an independent intelligence agency that is colluding with the Fatoui to keep tabs on important happenings and powerful people both organizations should be wary of. This theory has always been around in the Genshin community even before that video. I want to expand my old assumptions from before and somewhat improve upon it, because that's the fun of theorizing. But as a very big disclaimer, this is all just speculation and nothing in this video is indicative of the final product. Let's begin with the core assumptions and facts that we already know. The Adventurers Guild is an independent intelligence agency. We need to start this theory with this really important fact about the Adventurers Guild. On the surface, the Adventurers Guild is an international company with technically for hire mercenaries. They take up missions that involve helping other citizens, but they also give out bounties and essentially hits. And given how vast their network is, what's primarily driving their guild is information. The biggest aspect of the guild isn't their manpower, but their network. Information where certain enemies are, which people need help, important targets that need to be stopped, and even mysterious phenomena across Devat. The guild is very privy to information that's not usually available to the public, like the Liuwichising, the happenings in the Abyss, and the Knights of Favonius, for example. While they call themselves adventurers, it's still important to consider how vast their network really is as an organization. They have on-field and off-field investigators and organizers that don't typically undertake commissions. Information is an important part of the guild that we don't actually see given that we're the ones doing the dirty work. Fischl, for example, is an investigator in the Adventurers Guild and conducts field reconnaissance. One of the missions that she and Oz took involved spying on the Valen, as well as assisting with the meteorites. The Adventurers Guild is an invaluable resource to Devat, essentially hired help. You pay them with gold and information, and they give you a mercenary essentially. As friendly and polite as the people of the guild are, we need to respect that there's a higher corporate power in play here, something specifically situated in Snezhnaya, which is where we get to the next part of the theory. The Adventurers Guild is colluding with the Fatoui. Note that I'm saying colluding. I don't actually think their main boss is a harbinger, but instead that they're an independent organization that just works with the Fatoui, kind of like the Knights of Favonius and the Liuwichising having political and diplomatic ties with these clowns. If the guild is truly a dedicated branch under a harbinger, it would be strange to have commissions that actively kill other skirmishers. Though, the Fatoui were never the benevolent type even to their own comrades, so I can't really use that as evidence for anything. Regardless, so the first reason I believe that they're colluding with the Fatoui is that the Adventurers Guild is a corporate organization first and foremost. The Adventurers Guild, according to Lan, has their head base situated in Snezhnaya. Now, while that isn't enough of a proof to say they're colluding with the Fatoui, we need to respect that the Adventurers Guild is too big of an organization for the Fatoui to ignore. It's actually even stranger if the Fatoui doesn't have a connection with the Adventurers Guild. You have two Snezhnaya-based international organizations that are known for dealing with multiple projects across the world, and you don't collude with each other. It honestly just sounds like a really big missed business opportunity. But second, and this one's bigger, is the benefits that the Adventurers Guild can give the Fatoui. Think about it like this. Commissions are constantly circulating through the guild, and people are constantly asking for help. If there's any major problem that's happening in Devat, the guild would be the first to know, especially abyssal activity, a topic that the Fatoui have been curious about given at least 3 harbingers had connections with Connery and the Abyss. Additionally, people sign up to join or help the guild constantly, people who are significantly more powerful than a standard civilian. Bennett and Fischl are certified members, vision wielders that are constantly on the field, while Mona and the Traveler have worked for them as hired help. The point is that if there was anyone in Devat that would have an updated and intact, trusted profile of an important person's power set and capabilities, it would be the guild. And last is that the guild has a way of controlling where people go and how people get there. Consider this, if the Fatoui wanted to keep track on, let's say, Snezhnaya's potentially largest threat in the form of a blonde traveler, the best way is to control and monitor where they go by checking their guild's commissions. They could ask Catherine to send them to a certain location, or even just keep track of what kind of people they've been talking to or killing. Fun fact that I honestly just think is a weird coincidence, the first quest that we get in Inazuma's chapter isn't talking to Beidou, but is actually saying goodbye to the Catherine of Liyue Harbor. But she does say that she'll be waiting on Narukami Island. Either she really is just teleporting really fast, or she's also aware that there are multiples of her on the map and it's just funny to mess with people at this point. But moving on is that what the Adventurers Guild lacks in resources, presumably, they make up for in human resource. Literal human resource. Also, let's talk about Catherine, because this will connect me with the next question. In the event that they are colluding with the Adventurers Guild, in the event that the guild is colluding with the Fatoui, which harbingers are in charge of keeping ties with them? We will start with the first two that I deem as the most probable based on what we know so far, Sandrone and Columbina. I've already discussed this in an old video why I think Columbina is the mastermind behind the operations of the Adventurers Guild, but I did want to adjust that statement after the release of the Fatoui trailer. The reason I think Sandrone is amongst the important figures handling the Adventurers Guild is because of Catherine. This theory of Catherine being a robot isn't new to the community. She's also the most cryptic character in the lore so far given how much she alludes to things before they happen, like the chance meeting in the Abyss before we met Dane in the Chasm. Catherine also seems to be everywhere at once, and has a running joke of just teleporting around the place. But Catherine's way of referring to herself suggests that all branches of the Adventurers Guild has their own Catherine, and that it's a given. She also always opens her introduction in all regions with the same way, that Catherine is the receptionist of the Adventurers Guild. I am Catherine, the receptionist here at the Adventurers Guild. It's my job to assign quests to our adventurers and provide intelligence support. Our service is all year round. Is there something wrong, adventurer? You seem surprised. I'm sorry. I don't quite understand your confusion. All guild members should be aware that Catherine is the receptionist of the Adventurers Guild. The Liyue branch can't go on without a receptionist, can it? Therefore, Catherine is here. The thing is, besides looking quite similar with the bangs and all, it's difficult to really put a good argument on their connection because a lot of characters in Genshin physically look similar. But let's entertain that idea. If Sandrone was the one that created the Catherines, artificial human creation isn't really shocking in the world of Tevat, given we have multiple people with simulacra and homunculi. So Sandrone creating mass-produced Catherines to serve as receptionists isn't exactly out of the blue. And if you ask why I don't think it's Dottore, I simply think it's because Dottore wouldn't be interested. The Catherines do really feel like receptionists that just regurgitate information, so the level of the real intelligence, or even sentience, by this point is unknown. So would Dottore really make a pet project of making the perfect Alexa instead of just making his own alternative human altogether that acts independent of any prerogatives? I doubt it. So I'd say Sandrone would be more inclined to this kind of research. Nothing based on anything substantial, of course, but call it a hunch. The reason I believe that Sandrone isn't the main puppeteer of the Adventurers Guild is because of how Tartaglia describes her. She's inclined to her research and seems to be more interested in machines than the dealings with other people in Tevat. Instead, it would be the other harbingers that deal with the more political aspects that handled connections with the guild, which is why I theorize it's Columbina. Columbina from the Commedia dell'arte is a known gossiper, and someone that knows almost everything about everyone. She was very down-to-earth in the Commedia and could always see the situation for what it actually was. Her having eyes and ears everywhere in the form of both the skirmishers and the guild would be a good way of representing that. But we can't deny that half of these claims are based on nothing but speculation and really vague physical correlations. The other harbingers can easily be the ones puppeteering the guild, especially characters with hardly any backstory like Arlecchino and Pulcinella. And the problem with this theory is that it doesn't really matter in the end. The thing is, even if the Fatoui are colluding with the Adventurers Guild for political or economical power, its connection with the story and the Traveler wouldn't be really that big of a revelation. Sure, shocker, Catherine's a robot, but we've seen Albedo, for example. In all honesty, the Adventurers Guild is just a corporate discussion with mutual benefits. And yes, it's really cool to speculate if the Adventurers Guild is a hoax, we still need to understand that it really isn't. It's basically at the same way that the Knights of Favonius are unwilling allies of the Fatoui. If they are colluding, it's business. The Adventurers Guild is just an organization of hired help that provides their services across Tevat that may be motivated by more than just their goodwill. Or we entertain the alternative idea. We entertain the idea that they're completely independent. There is an Ajnaya-based company that isn't connected with the Fatoui whatsoever and are acting on their genuine service. Let's talk about that part. While I think this is borderline impossible given how meddlesome the Fatoui are, this just elevates even more questions about Catherine's origins or the implication of a large intelligence network spanning multiple nations have such a massive influence that the Fatoui can't even establish ties with them. Either way, the nature of the Adventurous Guild is something that I genuinely want to speculate more of in the future. This seemingly harmless guild that just wants to help the everyday man, while simultaneously having a maybe non-human as a receptionist, bounty hunts for both people and monsters, and an international network. But anyway, my name is Aster and thank you for chilling with me. Get your gamer fuel over at GamerSubs with the code ASTER for 10% off. Alright, let's enjoy Sumeru. Woo!